Welcome into the Michigan Football Report. I am your host, James Yoder, and if you've never watched the show before, I want to tell you a little bit about what this show is about before we get into today's episode. The Michigan Football Report has daily videos throughout the 2019 football season and beyond, so make sure to subscribe. We've also got the latest Michigan football news and rumors on the 2019 team and recruiting the 2020-2021 class. And lastly, we have live chat and audience Q&A. You want to ask me questions about Michigan football? We do a post-game show after every Michigan football game. We'll continue that into the 2020 season and beyond. So welcome into the Michigan Football Report for the first time for many of you. We've got a great show coming up. Michigan Football Rumors getting started right now. All right, start today's show. 2020 quarterback recruit J.D. Johnson out of Arizona has medically retired. This was announced Wednesday. He put it out there on Twitter that he has a medical condition, a heart condition, that will prevent him from playing football in the future. But Jim Harbaugh, in a great move and one he's rightfully getting a lot of positive press for, is honoring the scholarship and offering J.D. a role on the Michigan staff as a student manager / student coach, getting his potential coaching career started in the 2020 season as a freshman at Michigan. So J.D. Johnson will no longer be part of this 2020 recruiting class. Best of luck to him in his coaching career as he heads to Ann Arbor as a student, no longer a football player. But what this does do is leave a small void in Michigan's, I guess actually a large void, in Michigan's 2020 recruiting class, given that he was the only quarterback recruit commitment. So, as of yesterday, shortly after the news that J.D. Johnson will not be able to play college football, medically retired, Michigan offered California four-star quarterback C.J. Stroud, who is considering Ohio State, Baylor, UCLA, and Oregon, amongst other schools. So Michigan's going to go after a few quarterback commits. I doubt they get Stroud, given that it's this late in the game. Typically, quarterbacks have made up their mind a little earlier than November, let's say, of their senior year of high school. But Michigan will probably end up with a lower-rated quarterback than Johnson or Stroud. See how that goes. They've got a 5-star committed for the 2021 class. But best of luck to J.D. Johnson. Now let's get into the latest Michigan football rumors heading into this week's game versus Maryland. And it's a potential revenge game for Josh Gattis, not to mention Jim Harbaugh for what they did to his boy DJ Durkin. Kidding there. But nevertheless, saw this on, someone sent me a link to not a premium message board, one of these like off-the-wall message boards saying that Josh Gattis, they've got a source saying Josh Gattis has begged and asked Don Brown, shut Mike Locksley out, shut Maryland out. I'm giving this one 2 Harbaugh heads. It seems plausible. That's kind of what a rumor is, right? It has enough truth to it that I say, yeah, I could see that happening because of the bad blood between Gattis and Locksley following both their departures out of Alabama following the 2018 season. So let's take a look at the war of words between Maryland coach Mike Locksley and Michigan OC Josh Gattis. So back in August, right around the time of Big Ten Media Day and into fall camp, he basically took a shot at Locksley did at Gattis, kind of saying, yeah, I remember what it was like being a first-time play caller, and this is after Gattis and Jim Harbaugh answered questions at Big Ten Media Day about Gattis' role at Alabama last year and how much strategy involvement he had with their play calling, and it kind of threw him under a bus. Like, hey kid, you're gonna go through your first trip to the big you're gonna be I'm lost for words here, but he's basically saying, welcome to the big leagues, Gattis. Josh knows the truth, saying who made the plays calls, and that's important to understand. And so Gattis comes back after Locksley's basically saying, you didn't call the plays at Alabama last year. And he says, I'm fine with that, with Locksley saying that he did the play calls. He did call every play, but he's got a notebook upstairs, just like they did in the movie The Waterboy. That green notebook with all the national championship plays is the joke. But I've got a lot of respect for him, obviously, is Josh Gattis' response back to Locksley. And for those of you watching first time, I'm really at a loss for words there, but I was just had an analogy that just kind of out of there. But nevertheless, 2 Harbaugh heads in this one. We should probably, Brett, if we can we should throw up the Harbaugh head meter for the new viewers, see what they tell these people what that even means. But what has this Maryland team done since they got out to a hot start with Mike Locksley, Josh Gattis' former boss? They were co-OCs, but Locksley was the real OC. So they dropped 79 points on Howard. Then 63 points on a Syracuse team people thought would be good. And then reality started to come around for who Maryland is. 17 points versus Temple. They were then shut out versus Penn State. They go get a win against Rutgers. 48 points they drop on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And then in 3 straight losses without starting quarterback Josh Jackson. 14 against Purdue, 28 versus Indiana, and then 10. They're absolutely blown out versus Minnesota this past weekend. So Josh Gattis, rumor out there, I'm giving it 2 Harbaugh heads that he has asked Don Brown, shut these guys out. Let's stick it to Locksley, who was throwing gas under the bus a little bit over the summer. So if you haven't watched the show before, here's the Harbaugh head rumor meter. 0 Harbaugh heads. That means it's totally false. Fake news. Probably put out there by Sam Webster. 1 Harbaugh head, small shred of truth. 2 Harbaugh heads means people are talking 50-50. 3 Harbaugh heads means it's pretty likely. And if it's 4 Harbaugh heads, that means it is F-A-C-K, fact. That's how Jim Harbaugh spells it. That is how we spell it here at the Michigan Football Report. Let's take a look at this Saturday's matchup. Michigan headed out to Maryland. They're 21-point favorites over the 3-5 Terps. Michigan opened as a 16.5-point favorite, and it rocketed up to 21.5 points for the Wolverines. So 21-point favorite, and I'll tell you what, the money is coming in big time on Michigan. The bets and the money, really. So 87% of the bets are on Michigan, and you see 23% of the money is on Maryland, which obviously means 77% of the money is on Michigan. So more of the public is putting in the money on Michigan than the big bettors. There's a 10% variance there, but nevertheless, I still think Michigan's going to cover the spread. I think that Josh Gattis has some motivation going with wanting to pour down against Maryland. I think his boy Don Brown is going to do him good, is going to bring the thunder against Maryland. Josh Jackson, their starting quarterback for the first half of the season, still questionable, doubtful that questionable. I doubt that he's going to play, and so they will be subjected to the quarterback that's got him 3 straight losses. But if you want to put money on the Wolverines kicking the Terps' butts, do it with our partner BetDSI. Promo code GOBLUE at www.chatsports.com/bet. Get you a 120% deposit bonus. So if you want to have a little more fun this Saturday, this Sunday for college football, for NFL, NBA, or if you want to put some money on the Tigers, whoever your baseball team is, winning the World Series next year, you can do that with our partner BetDSI. 120% deposit bonus, the best bonus in the game to get going betting on sports. Want to ask you guys, though, predict the score below. Number 14, Michigan at Maryland. The first person to accurately predict the score below. And, of course, tell me who wins. Don't just throw a score out there with no winner, although I'm assuming it's Michigan. We've got to know. First person to do it below in the comments. $25 from our pockets straight to yours. We'll Venmo it to you if you predict it. It's not as easy as it looks, folks, so make sure you think long and hard, get it in there ASAP before someone steals your score from you. All right, let's get into rumor number 2. Has Ed Warinner been calling the running plays? There's a lot of chatter out there about this. I can't get a good read on it. Talked to a few sources, nothing really definitive, but there is some compelling evidence. I'm giving this one 2 Harbaugh heads. Strictly in the rumor category, 50-50. But there's something here, right? I can't just dismiss this as fake news. There is definitely something here. Let's take a look just in a second here on the stats. The first 6 games of the year versus the last 2 games. Of course, Michigan's 1-1, but the 2 games against 2 of the best 3 teams they've played so far this year. And the numbers I want to say are staggering, but they're certainly significant that Michigan has gotten better in the last 2 games. That's rumored that Ed Warinner had his hand in the calling of the running play. So, first 6 games, 38 carries per game. Last 2 games against Penn State, against Notre Dame, 49. 3.9 yards per carry to 4.5. How about this one? 151 yards per game on the first 6 games to 222. 2.3 touchdowns per game on the ground to 3. And this is maybe one of the more interesting ones is first 6 games of the year, Michigan averaged 7.5 first downs via the run game. They achieved the first down, from a running play versus 11 average the last 2 games. A lot of these numbers slanted in Michigan's favor because of the rain torrential downpour at Notre Dame. But if you watch that offense and you watch that play calling as closely as I did, you definitely said, this looks like Michigan's offense from last year. And with the emergence of this man, Hassan Haskins, 20 carries, 149 yards, 7.5 yards per carry against Notre Dame, Michigan's offense looks serviceable, looks like it has a pulse over the past 6 quarters for the first time this entire year. So I think there's something to this rumor out there that we'll break down a little further. It started basically on Sunday. People talking that, hey, Harbaugh has pulled the autonomy of play calling away from Gattis. It's being said out there. I don't know if it's true or not, but we just want to look at the rumor. He's pulling it back. Harbaugh's making the call, run or pass. If it's run, it's Warinner. If it's pass, it's Gattis. That's what people are saying out there. There's certainly some validity to it if you look at the numbers. Man, the emergence of Hassan Haskins paired with Zach Charbonnet has given Michigan a really nice 1-2 punch that I don't think makes sense with the offense that Josh Gattis was trying to run that was very reliant on RPOs. That if you've heard some of the offensive linemen give interviews the past 2 weeks, it's pretty clear that they don't really understand when the running game is going to be in play with the RPO. So Michigan's gone back to a trap-style running game over the past 2 games. And with this 2-headed running attack, both guys with freshman ability of Zach Charbonnet, Hassan Haskins, I think Michigan's got a great opportunity to win the next 3 games, going to Ohio State at 9-2, and potentially pull one of the great upsets of certainly the biggest of Jim Harbaugh's career, but maybe one of the great upsets in Michigan football over the past 20 years. You probably have to go back to the late 90s for Michigan to pull an upset against such a juggernaut Ohio State team. So with those stats there, Hassan Haskins getting just about 150 and getting the start the last 2 games for Michigan. I want to ask you guys this question. Who will be Michigan's leading rush leader versus Maryland? Who's going to lead the Wolverines in rushing yards? Haskins has kind of been the man last week. He's had 2 of the last 3 games, 2 of the last 4, whatever it is. He's really busted out. Charbonnet got more of the load against Penn State, although he was not the starter. So answer below in the comment section. You think it's going to be Charbonnet? You think it's going to be Haskins? Hell, maybe it's True Wilson. Maybe it's Shea Patterson. You never know. Michigan going against Maryland. So answer below. I'm going to go out there on a little bit of a limb, and I'm just going to say it's going to be Haskins again, right? That's really a limb going out there for me. So here's the betting matchup one more time. The over-under, if you're not familiar, just the total points scored in the game, is it going to be over 56.5 or under 56.5? It started at 55.5. It's popped up 1 point. I guess it popped up to 56.5, whatever it is, and is sitting squarely at 56 right now. And with the spread being 21 points, I think that means that they think that Michigan's going to score a lot of points in this game. But if you want to bet in the game, we told you about BetDSI. If you want to get an advantage on BetDSI, make some big-time bucks, like me, 4-1 last week. I'm pretty much the only guy in America that picked TCU to cover that 2-point spread. Shout out me, the pat in the back. It's because I saw the data on the Action Network app, and you can get started with the Action Network. $5.99 a month, 40% off their normal $9.99 a month service charge for their app. It's awesome. I use it to get an advantage, see the trends. Michigan covered 4 out of the last 5 weeks. You'd know that data too if you have the Action Network app. Big time recommendation from us, 40% off at chatsports.com/deal. Last rumor for today. There's some smoke coming out of Schembechler Hall. Is that because we've named a new pope, or is it Jim Harbaugh becoming a little bit of a reggae guy? I don't know too many people listening to Bob Marley and not puffing the Magic Dragon, but nevertheless, is Jim Harbaugh a reggae guy? We're going to tell you what this means here in a second, but I'm going to give it a 4 Harbaugh head, F-A-C-K back. Jim Harbaugh, Bob Marley fan. And where am I getting this from? There was a, what's the guy's name? Brett McMurphy from Stadium. The Stats and Research Department's confirmed Brett McMurphy, former of ESPN, the guy who outed Urban Meyer in the whole scandal a year and a half ago. He basically did a poll of all the college football coaches, asked them their favorite musician, and Jim Harbaugh said his favorite musician is Bob Marley. He said that that song by Marley, that's a real toe tapper is what he said. But here's a couple of the other relevant coaches that you might want to know about that answered this poll. And I think all major college football coaches answered the question. So Ryan Day at Ohio State, Kenny Chesney, Mark D'Antonio, Eric Church, I don't even know who that is, James Franklin, Jay-Z, okay, he's trying to be a little young, be hip. Brian Kelly, Bruce Springsteen, a classic. But how about we threw him in there, Kansas? Why Kansas? Well, Les Miles, former Wolverine football player, throws out 21 Savage. And for those of you over 17 years old have never heard of 21 Savage, let me just say that this is the fakest news that has been put out about college football since Sam Webb said that Oliver Martin was coming back to Michigan for 2019. So, Les Miles, good to you for playing the game, but there's no chance that Les Miles ever heard of 21 Savage, to say the least. But I want to know from you guys, might be one of these people on this list. It might be Bob Marley, might be 21 Savage, might be DaBaby. The kids are hot into DaBaby this day. But answer the question below, who is your favorite band or artist? I want to know the music that you guys are listening to, so maybe I can add it to my playlist. Thanks so much for watching today's show for the Michigan Football Report. If you want some more Michigan football news and rumors, I got my post-game grades for you right here. Another awesome Michigan football show for you right here. And if you're new to the show or if you have watched and you haven't hit the button yet, click this subscribe button right here so you'll never miss a video from the Michigan Football Report. Go Blue.